All right, homework day 21. We are going to graph an equation in slope-intercept form, and they're going to give you 3 different versions of this problem. Slope-intercept form looks like this. Y equals mx plus b. The number in front of the x is the slope of the line. So if you think about slope, that's the slant of the line. The bigger the number, the higher or steeper the slant is. If it's positive, the slope goes up as you go from left to right. If it's negative, it goes down as you go from left to right. We'll talk about slope a little bit more, but that way you'll kind of understand when you graph what's going on. The end number is your y-intercept. Y-intercept is where your graph is going to touch the y-axis. So our first equations aren't going to have a y-intercept. Well, they are. It's going to be 0 because it's not going to have a number on the end. Just having you kind of learn about slope. So when I graph a line, what I'm doing is making that table like we did before, and we're going to plug some numbers in for x and find the corresponding answers. Now when you pick numbers, you can pick whatever numbers you want, but you want to be able to end up on your graph. So you don't want to use too big of numbers. I like to use numbers like 0, 1, and 2 just because they're nice and easy to do. But you can pick -2 if you want, whatever you want to pick. And so then I'm going to substitute them in on the right side of my equation and solve. So the first one says I'm going to take 4 times 0. 4 times 0 is 0, right? If I do my second point, I'm going to do 4 times 1. 4 times 1 is 4. For my third point, I pick 2. 4 times 2 is 8. So they're going to have you plot those 3 points. 0, 0, right in the middle. Because there wasn't a number on the end, my y-intercept is at 0. Then I'm going to have 1, 4. 1, 4 up here. Then I'm going to go 2, 8 up here. So I can connect those dots and draw my line. And as you go from left to right, connecting your dots, if I could draw straight, boy, I'm drawing really crooked, my line is going uphill. And because I had a 4 in front, that was a pretty steep slope, right? It had a pretty big slant because 4 is kind of a big number in front of our x. So, if I look at the next one, the next one they threw a fraction in on me.
21.
21.
Yeah, we got it yesterday.
Oh, we got it yesterday?
You might have grabbed it yesterday. It was on the counter yesterday.
I grabbed it. You should grab it. Yeah, I grabbed it.
Now, when I have fractions, I want to use a little more common sense when I pick my numbers because I don't want to have to try to plot a 1/3 or something weird like that. So 0 is always a good number to use. And any multiples of the denominator. So if I think about multiples of 3, I might use 3, I might use 6, I might use -3. You only really have to do 2 points to draw a line. They recommend you do at least 3. You can really do as many as you want to. But I'm, for fun, going to do 4 on this one. So I'm going to start out and do 2/3 times 0. Well, we know anything times 0 is going to give me 0, right? Then I'm going to do 2/3 times 3. 2/3 times 3, well, the 3's will cancel out, so I'm just going to get 2, right? Right, this is 3 over 1.
Okay.
And so I get 2 over 1, which is 2. 2/3 times 6, which I could put as 6 over 1. 3 goes into 6 2 times. 2 times 2 is going to give me 4. If I take that 2/3 times my -3. 3 goes into 3 one time, but that's a -1. 2 times -1 would give me -2. So, plotting those points. Again, when I use 0, I got 0, 0. My y-intercept was 0 because there's no plus nothing on the end. 3, 2. Over 3, up 2. 6, 4. Over 6, up 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative 3, negative 2. 3 to the left and down 2. Notice when I put all those dots on there, they lined up in a straight line. My slope was positive. It is going uphill as I went from left to right, but it's not as steep as a 4 slope, right? Because 2/3 is less than 4. So my line looks something sort of like that. So the third one, we're graphing y equals negative x. People have trouble when they have that negative x. So you want to think of negative x as negative 1x, right? Negative 1 times whatever I put in for my x values. So go ahead and pick some numbers to put in for x for me.
0.
0. Always like 0. What else shall we use? 3, okay. One more. 5, okay.
So would them all be negative, right?
They-
Negative 3, negative 5.
So, negative 1 times 0 is 0. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. Negative 1 times 5 is negative 5. Exactly. So 0, 0. I'm going to plot that one. Then I'm going to go 3, negative 3. So 3 to the right and down 3. And then I'm going to do 5, negative 5. This time, notice when you connect your dots, you're going downhill as you go from left to right because your slope is a negative number instead of a positive number. So if you have a positive number in front of your x, it's going to go up. If you get a negative in front of your x, it's going to go down.